focused on the back.
Yeah. There's one there. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Yep. Yeah, you're kind of cool.
Maybe do Wednesday. I don't know. He's the expert.
Yeah, I don't know kind of what. Now I see why the City Hall hasn't mounted the ceiling, remote control. I mean, you know, there's a production value at some point there. Is she coming? Well, I don't. Okay, I don't know. I know Alex and Ms. Denson were doing the presentation.
And my wife was coming too.
Yeah. Some of them are the grandparents and you got the women parents, yeah. You just get
Is that 6:30? Can we start?
I think it is 6:30.
We'll call to order the regularly scheduled meeting of the Saline Area Schools Board of Education for Tuesday, April 9th, 2013. I invite you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is a portion of the meeting where a member of the public may address the board briefly for up to 3 minutes. If a speaker will require more than 3 minutes, we ask them to contact the board secretary to be scheduled for a future meeting. Are there any takers for public comment at this point? No takers this evening. Superintendent Graydon.
Yes, want to announce we had launched our surveys today. Many of you, if you have a child in our district, if you're a staff member or a student in grades 6 through 12, you received a email survey today. I'd encourage you to fill that out. I think we've had a couple hundred parents who've been on and filled it out, inclusive then of staff as well, and not quite as many students. So students, make sure you get on there and fill out the survey. We're eager to get information and feedback from the community about a variety of issues, including academic preparation, student support, parent engagement, school operations, and accessibility of school leaders. The steering committee for Promote Saline met last week and selected a firm to help kind of with a theme of around Saline area schools, or not, pardon me, Saline, the city of Saline, the Saline environment, and really trying to build off this concept that we can share information between organizations to help us collectively promote Saline. So we'll be continuing to talk with that group, and I'm working with them, and we'll be talking with the City Council next Monday regarding that issue. On Tuesday the 16th, we are hosting our peer district meeting, which includes Bloomfield Hills, Troy, Grosse Pointe, Okemos, Northville, Birmingham, among others. We'll be touring the high school and then discussing what 21st century teaching and learning looks like in each of our districts. So it's an exciting opportunity for us to share with other educators from around the state. And we are closing in on the 2013-2014 school calendar. That calendar should be up on our website, if not later this week, early next week, and we'll be able to share that out. Of note, we follow the county calendar as it relates to breaks, so this has been set for a while, but because we're coming off the spring break, it's important for people to understand next year our spring break will literally be about a week later. Monday, March 31st is kind of what people are looking at as the first week in April. Because Monday is in March, we go the following week. So it's April 7th to 11th next year will be our spring break. So people who are already doing planning, we have had several phone calls about that. Just kind of remember that and note that. So that's all I have for this. Oh, one more thing. Kids Against Hunger. Mr. Sharon, you want to come forward? We have a quick drawing here. I get to do somebody's job for a day. Les, do you want to talk about the program?
Yeah, I'm Les Sharon, the principal of Heritage Elementary, but I'm here really today as a board member of the Kiwanis Club of Saline We do a lot of partnership between Saline and Saline area schools and the Kiwanis Club, and one of the things we do is Kids Against Hunger, where we raise money and the students come together and make meals that are then shipped to third world countries and to disaster relief. And so last year we made 23,000 meals, and this year we're going to make substantially more. Our goal this year was raising $4,000, and we topped over $5,000 on our donations. Special call out to Mr. Joel Benedict, our social worker at Heritage, who secured a $2,000 grant from Walmart. So we're very happy about that. So we raffle a day off. Scott comes in and we'll do a job. We sell raffle tickets. And I think other Kelsey, we raised the price significantly this year to $5 a shot. But just from the money we raised from Scott taking the day off raffle from the staff, we're going to be able to make 900 meals for sub-Saharan Africa or disaster relief. So we appreciate that, Scott. So if you're ready, and I am eligible, I'm in there.
All right, I'll let Mr. Holden pull the name out of there.
Oh, pressure. Give my,
Yeah.
oh, just one.
All right, and the winner is Diana Chase. I will be a
Diana Chase, so congratulations.
I will be a paraeducator at the high school on the day of her
On behalf
choosing.
of Kiwanis Club, Scott, thank you so much. The SAS staff for raising the money, and Scott, for you, have fun at the high school.
Thank you.
Okay, I would like to mention that the meeting this evening is being recorded by SCTV. I'd like to thank Chase Stanton for putting that together. This is the first Saline Area School Board meeting that has been recorded. So it'll appear on the local access channel. We'll also make it available on the school website. And hopefully it'll be something that will continue into the future. We may have to hone it a little bit, but I think it's good that we're going to allow people to view school board meetings on their time. And certainly those who do attend, we certainly welcome them. And that. Want to thank Nate Lampman and his musicians for their little music before the meeting. It was a very nice touch. We'll hear more from them later in the meeting. In that. Do any other board members have anything at this point? Chief.
I just have a flag update. If you recall, we have high school senior Allison Collins is also a Girl Scout, and her project is to come up with enough money fundraising to purchase flags for all the classrooms. Next year, we start the Pledge of Allegiance every day in the schools. So she took that on. I went with her to the local VFW, and she gave her presentation, which is excellent. And they were able to give her $500 to get things started. So she's well on her way. And if you get the opportunity, Janice, you could help me. They can go online at the school
On
site.
the school website, and there's a link for Pay Schools and a link for the flags.
And also, I believe the Post has something you can connect also. So if you get a chance, if you can throw in $5, $10, that'd be great. Thank you.
Karen?
I just want to remind everyone that the foundation has their spring reception on April 25th. Again, I encourage all board members to attend if possible and support them and all the work that they do for the district. It is a free event. It'll be at Stone Arch from 5 to 8. They will be announcing, Steve, correct, the Love of Language selection.
That's right.
Yeah, so it's kind of exciting and presenting the money for that. So come on out and support the foundation.
Excellent. Trustee Heineck.
I have a little public service announcement. A couple of weeks ago, we did a board expulsion hearing. It's probably the toughest thing as a board member you have to do. And it's just a reminder to everyone, students and parents alike, if you sign the form saying you read the handbook and you understand the handbook, I encourage you to read it, and really understand it, because there's definitions in there, there's some legal references in there, and they apply to everyone. So just kind of a little reminder.
Good point. Good point. Anybody else? Okay. Revision to the agenda. We are going to make one change to the agenda as printed. We will take the action item E, pay to participate in activity fees, and we're going to split that out. We'll take the vote on the activity fees. We'll have that as a recommended motion. And the pay to participate, we will move to discussion, and we'll make that item E under discussion items. And with that, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as revised.
So moved.
Todd?
Second.
And trustee Zimmer, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Hey,
Nay?
Nay.
Okay.
Nay here too.
I need to.
You're a nay too. Okay. Okay. So the recorded vote will be Carter, Holden, Zimmer, and Freeze as ayes. Vice President Heft, Secretary Carter, and
Okay.
Trustee Delhay and Trustee Heineck as nays. Okay. And we'll move to scheduled reports. The boys swim and dive state championship team recognition.
All right, I'll introduce Mr. Rob White, our athletic director, and Mr. Todd Brunty, our swim coach, to come on up and talk a little bit about the boys and the program, and then we will move on from there.
I'm Todd Brunty, the swim coach, if you don't know, for the boys and the women's swim team. But I'd like to tell you that I appreciate, and I think our parents and our swimmers do appreciate you having us here and give us the recognition for the achievements we've done over the past few years. And I said to the newspaper, I said to a lot of people that I think we are basically the representation, the frontline representation, that's what I talk about with the boys, is the frontline representation of the school. So we've been out there a lot, we've had a lot of success, so we try and live our daily lives and train and work ethic and all the things we do in the pool and out of the pool to represent this community. And I think our success is because we had that type of goal to be able to represent this community. And kind of we are the benefactors of a lot of people's hard work around here. Some good parents, good administration, good school board, great people, great community. And we're kind of the people who I try and teach that to them, that we want to make sure we do that well, and I think we've done that. But I appreciate you recognizing our accomplishments and our achievements. And we'll try and keep doing it. That's the goal. Thank you.
That would, in addition to all the accomplishments, I think probably more significant than anything else is the team has a 3.26 GPA. So they're getting it done in the classroom. They are model student athletes, and that's really what we want to encourage and instill within the school district. Just some of the things that this team has accomplished. 4 consecutive state championships. It's only been done, I think, 2 other times in high school history. So certainly these gentlemen have etched their names in Saline history for a long time, and will be remembered for those accomplishments. The Hornets hold all the class records in the 200 free relay, hold all the class records in the 200 IM and the 100 breaststroke. Hornets hold the D1 record in the 100 backstroke and 100 fly, to go along with 4 other records. The Hornets hold 6 Division I records out of 11 swimming events. The state championship generated another 21 All-American awards. Saline won 9 of the events this year out of the 12, one which was diving, including setting the national record in the 200 medley relay at 1 minute, 30 seconds, and 100th. In the past 4 years, there have been 48 events. Saline has won 27 of the 48 events held at the state championship level. And certainly these young men have put their time in, probably a lot of early mornings getting up and going to the pool and that. And
I want to see them.
we'd like you to stand up. Stand up and recognize them.
say, oh, you want to say?
All right.
You got an old battery in that thing?
Yeah.
All right.
You were on TV when that happened. I was nervous about that.
One thing I'll also mention is that we do have on the consent agenda tonight, we're going to approve 3 field trips. And we've got our automotive tech group going to a state competition, I believe, up in the Grand Rapids area. We also have the welding group going to compete. And then we also have some DECA students who will be going to participate in their national competition. So not only do we compete in athletics, we compete against across a number of different areas. And as those students have success, we want them to come to the board meeting to give them the recognition that is due them. Okay, now we have I'm going to ask Mr. Lampman to have another musical performance. Come on up.
Good evening, and thank you very much for the opportunity to perform for you tonight. I'll be very brief, but I would like to introduce the students that performed just before the meeting. The flute soloist right at the beginning was Cassie Mullenix, right back here. Cassie was just accepted at the University of Michigan as a music student and received a music scholarship and will be studying music performance for the next 4 years at the University of Michigan. We're very proud of her. She's going to be a fantastic performer. We had a bassoon trio. Some of them had to leave right away. That was Sarah Lynn Klopacik, Ashley Mania, and Ben Pummel. And then we're going to hear, thank you. And we're going to hear a movement from Beethoven's Quintet in E-flat with our woodwind quintet. We have on horn Danielle de Geeter, on flute Nick Omachinsky, on clarinet Josh Hansknecht, on oboe Allison Warmanen, and on bassoon again Ashley Maney. So I made a brief fact sheet. I would like to just highlight a couple things and reiterate what Coach Brunty was saying. All of the things on this sheet and all the things that these students are able to accomplish are only possible because of the support that we have from you, from our administrators, from our wonderful teachers at all the way through in Saline area schools, and the incredible parents that we have, and the incredible students that we have the pleasure of working with every day. And I want to highlight just 2 things on here that I think speak to that. First one is we were able to have the director of bands from the University of Michigan, Michael Haithcock, come out and work with the bands this year. This happens every year, 2 or 3 times with different groups, and that's only made possible by our Saline Music Parents group that funds those kinds of activities, and I can't thank them enough. All the festivals that the students participate they've really done well this year, received superior ratings from all of the adjudicators in every festival they attend. It's really a testament to their hard work that they put in every day in class and the preparation that they make. They are truly outstanding young ladies and gentlemen, and I know their parents are very proud of them, and we are too. I would like to point out that this group that's going to play, and the three groups that you are going to hear, are representative of the small ensemble program that we have in the band program at the high school. And we sent over 100 ensembles like this, trios, quartets, quintets, to the festival, and that was held at Livonia Franklin. And then there's a state level that they can progress to that they had at Chelsea just a few weeks ago. And of those 100 ensembles, 64 of them moved on to the state level. And then of them, 40% of those received 2s and 60% received superior ratings. So they did extremely well at that festival as well. And one other neat thing that's coming up in the next couple weeks is we're going to be doing a collaboration concert with the Ann Arbor Concert Band, which is, we've been doing intergenerational music making opportunities. Last year we performed with the Saline New Horizons Band. This year the Ann Arbor Concert Band, and we're always seeking out those opportunities so that our students can see the possibilities that are available for music after you leave high school, either at the college level or for the rest of their lives. So thank you for your time, and without further ado, the quintet in E flat.
Thank you for coming tonight. We certainly appreciate that entertaining piece. Well done.
Might want to mention Bandoramas Monday night.
Bandorama Monday night at the high school in the gym.
What
So,
time?
Bandorama, 6:30. Yep.
Okay, excellent. We'll move to action items. The chair will entertain a motion to accept the recommendation of the CARES Advisory Committee to award Phase 2 discretionary funds as follows. Life Skills Fitness Equipment in the amount of $882.28. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Todd? Support?
Second.
And Diane on the second.
Yeah.
And that discussion, Mr. Popper.
Thanks. I'll just go over the grants that were submitted and the reasons why the other ones were not approved. We had 3 grants. The first one was 2013 field improvements from SAYB&S. Basically, they still have a grant for $5,000 they received about a year ago. They haven't used. They also had a turnover with the treasurer, so they kind of got lost in, I think, when the new treasurer took over. So basically, CARES Board said we're not going to approve one grant until the other one's used up, so that was denied. The Fifth Corner Leadership Development for $3,000. That one basically is purpose of the grant is an educational training and coaching program for the teens attending the youth center to allow them to engage in genuine leadership of the Fifth Corner Teen Center. The board discussed this in length. Really, they felt like there wasn't, for the amount of money they were requesting, the amount of kids it was going to reach was very minimal at the time. And also, the CARES Board does not typically fund salaries. In majority of that grant, they felt like was salaries, so they did deny it. They did ask them to retweak it, though, and submit again. So, and then the third one is Life Skills Fitness Equipment. That one was approved in the amount, like you said, $882.28. And the purpose of that grant is between equipment to increase strength, flexibility, and balance while promoting a healthy lifestyle to Saline middle school and high school students with disabilities. And like I said, that amount was $882.28, and that one was approved. So that's for with special needs over at the high school, equipment there are lacking. So the board obviously went over that one as well, and they all agreed unanimously to pass that. So that was the it for round 2. Was there any questions about the grants? Todd?
Benefit the, what's the?
Liberty
Young
Club?
adult.
The young adult, the Liberty Club?
No, it's for during the day. So it's not the Liberty Club program as part of community ed. It's for, I have all the information on it. It's for the program that takes place over at the high school. But the middle school students do go over there during the day, so they use that equipment, and it's their equipment set aside, so.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Any other questions or comments from board members? Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the proposed changes to Board Policy 1300 meetings as submitted by the Policy Committee.
So moved.
Paul? And the chief is a second. And that. Dave, do you want to talk to
Yeah,
that
the
as the
gist of
policy
it,
chair?
yeah, the gist of it is we now have put in policy that we can videotape meetings.
Okay. All right.
That's what the basic change to the policy is.
Okay. Any questions or comments from any other board members? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the proposed changes to Board Policy 1950, Board Members' Conflicts of Interest, Ethics, and Responsibilities, as submitted by the Policy Committee. So move. Chief?
Support.
And Todd is the second. And that, Chairman Zimmer.
This is reflective of the changes we need to make because the changes in state law are effective in January of this year. It's really definitions of who falls into the conflict of interest policy, consistent with state law. That's really the only change that we have from previous policy.
Okay. Any questions or comments from board members? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the addition of Policy 9405, Service Animals in Schools, as submitted by the Policy Committee.
So moved.
Karen?
Second.
And a second by Diane. And that, Chairman Zimmer.
As was presented last meeting, It's really a question of the fact we should have a policy to support the use of service animals in schools. It's a trend that's a reality, and so we have to recognize that we have to have a policy in place to protect it. So there's protocols in terms of how the animals should be trained, prepared, leashed, those kind of things that are built into the language of the policy. As you saw in the last meeting we had, there's a presentation on that topic. It puts Saline in a defensible position from a legal perspective. It puts us in a position of providing guidance to students maybe in circumstances. It's a necessary piece of governance.
Okay. Any members have any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the suspension of the 2013-14 student activity fees as submitted by Superintendent Graydon.
So moved.
Diane and the chief. And that.
Based on the presentation last week and the data, I'm concerned that the activity fee is having a dampening effect on participation at the activity fee level. Given the amount of money generated there, I feel it's appropriate for us to suspend the fee, meaning no fee for the 2013-2014 school year, as we review whether or not that's a fee we want to continue. This is a fee that is in place in many other districts. However, I think we need to evaluate its effectiveness here in Saline.
Any questions or comments from board members? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Discussion items. The poured out Haiti trip.
I'll turn it over to Ms. Denson, Mr. Pike, and we have a couple of students here and a board member's wife, and we can learn more about the Saline Capstone experience.
Isn't that already a policy problem?
Paul, is that your wife here?
No.
All right, hi everybody. I'm Jen Denson. I'm from Saline High School.
I'm Alex Kendrick. I'm also from Saline High School.
And we're going to talk to you a little bit today about our experience with Poured Out in our 2 trips to Haiti. We actually just got back from the 2nd trip on Friday, so it was a successful trip. But we want to share with you a little bit, and then we have a request. Here are a couple of pictures of our group. This was the first group that went. This was the group that went. We went over winter break, so we left after the Christmas holidays and over New Year's. And we came back actually the Sunday before school started up again. And then these are 3 pictures of our group there, and a picture of us at the top of the mountain. And then this is our most recent group. This group left on the Friday of spring break and returned the Friday. We have Annie here who was with us, and Kevin was with us too. So he's double duty, swimming and capstone, everything. Something that's unique about this program is that, as you know, the capstone class tries to get students to open their worldview, to understand some of the major issues that are facing society on a local scale, a national scale, and an international scale. And so we started by studying Haiti before the trip. And some of the things that we knew from our classroom learning came from articles like this one from the New York Times. We talked about Haiti 2 years after the earthquake. What was Haiti like? We talked about some of the destruction here. This picture on the right is some of the areas that were affected, all of the buildings that had collapsed. We talked about what happened to the aid meant to rebuild Haiti. As you know, a lot of questions have come up about how the aid was distributed, which organizations got the materials, which did not. We talked about how Haiti doesn't need your old T-shirt. This was one of our favorite articles of the year. How when we give things to Salvation Army, perhaps they're not the things that people actually want to receive. And so we talked in depth about those issues. Here's one of the tent cities that cropped up that came along with the article that we read from Vanity Fair that was Welcome to Camp Penn. And as many of you may know, Sean Penn has been instrumental in changing some of the camps in Haiti, helping to provide those people with housing. And then we went to Haiti. Or before we went to Haiti, we also knew that 54% of the population in Haiti lives on less than $1 a day, and that statistic comes from the World Bank. We knew that only 55% of Haitians have access to improved water sources, and 70% don't have access to drinking water, right? And so students were trying to kind of wrap their heads around these issues. And lastly, waterborne illnesses such as typhoid, cholera, and chronic diarrhea are the cause of more than half of the deaths in Haiti every year. And so we went to Haiti, right? And all of those things you'll note have something in common, and they're fairly negative, right? So look how terrible things are in Haiti, and wow, things aren't going as we hoped, and it seems sort of hopeless in that way. And so then we went to Haiti. And Alex is going to talk a little bit about how we got around while we were there.
So our main method of transportation in Haiti was riding in truck beds. And I'm sure our mothers didn't want to hear that, but it really was a great way to start. Haiti, despite all the negative facts you've heard about, is a beautiful place. You're looking at the ocean and mountains and beautiful trees, and it really was a nice place if you look around. We really enjoyed going around, and when we were riding in the back of the truck beds, we had all our sand, all our gravel, all our filters with us. So we were definitely packed pretty tight back there, and we really got to know each other better. Something that I haven't really gotten to do before is get to know a teacher on a level more than school, and got to know Mrs. Denson really well, and that was really cool in my opinion. I never would have gotten to do that otherwise. Here, as you can see, we rode a boat for a little bit. Also, an awesome time. You get to see different parts of Haiti that you wouldn't get to see normally. Once again, packed, but we really did get to talk to each other and learn a lot about each other. Some of these kids I probably would not have been able to talk to in such an intimate way otherwise. We had to hike almost everywhere we went. That was the main portion of the work that we exerted, was hiking with bags of sand that were 50 or 80 pounds. You'd be carrying it on your neck, patient style. But as you can see here, Dom is carrying it on his head. But the people in Haiti would help us carry these things. As you can see there, the woman is carrying a filter that's probably taller than her on her head. And the people were so generous with their time and their work and their food. They were really a huge help. We would not have been able to carry all of those things to all of the different filter spots without them. And this is an actual installation of the filter. So as you can see here, everybody's assigned a job. And there are different jobs ranging from giving kids coloring books that have information on the filters in them so they can color, while another group of people, they're interviewing the family and asking them about if they can get medical care, how many times a month they're sick, and so on. And another group of people are actually installing the filter. And that was my personally, that was my favorite portion of the trip, because it was a very tangible thing. I was actually installing the filter into somebody's home. And these are the translators who were absolutely instrumental in the success of this, because we could not communicate with these people other than through them. And so while it was frustrating at times, it was good to know that these translators, who were orphans of Haiti as well, that they're helping us in this job and they're helping us get this done.
The actual filters themselves are made by Hydrate, which is actually, they're produced here in Michigan, and they're really quite simple. You'll see from this picture the catchment area is down there on the left, and what we do is we install a layer of large rock, and then we install a layer of small gravel, and then it's 100 pounds of sand. It's almost like playground sand, and that's it. That's all you need in order for this to work. Then there's the diffuser, which is how all the water gets poured in, and the reason that it goes through the diffuser is so you don't create any pools and you don't kind of cut through. The idea is to keep a 2-inch layer of water that is the biological layer on top, and so all the homeowners have to do is pour in a bucket of water a day, and it works. And the biological layer works, and by sifting down through, the students actually learned all of this stuff, and then not only did they learn it, but then they're the ones who are teaching it. And so we learned in the compound how the filters worked, and then these are the students who went out into the communities, and in like amazing Saline fashion, they were able to instruct an entire community how the filters were going to work. They answered their questions, and then took the filters to their homes. So this is Alex actually and Dom installing one in one of the households, of course, pouring the water. And Jake's quick. And you'll notice here, this is inside someone's home, right? And their home here is made out of sticks and made out of tarps. And in some cases, there's some of the aid bags that have been stitched together. And so we're talking about people who live in some pretty dire circumstances. So the fact that our students are bringing them clean water is remarkable. The other thing that happened with students during Haiti was that there was this interaction and engagement with people. We took Legos, we actually took nail polish. Annie had a veritable salon going one day with all of the girls crowded around her asking to have their nails painted, and she had a smile on her face and was doing it the whole time. Something as simple as playing patty cake or playing soccer. Alex will tell you he's a really good football player, but I don't know that his soccer skills are that And yet, he was willing to go out there and play with these kids and give it his all. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, playing with these kids was awesome. One, because they're incredible soccer players, and two, because they were ecstatic to play with us. As you know, I'm awful at soccer, but I had a blast playing because just seeing the joy on their faces was making me happy, and it was urging me to try to score, even though I knew I couldn't. But yeah, it was really, really cool. And this picture here means a lot to me because that is one of the translators, DJ. And I actually got really close with DJ because he was, in the groups I was in, he was my translator most of the time. And so I got to know DJ, and he's a really, really cool person. He cares a lot about Haiti, and I miss him a lot. I really do.
And DJ was a nice, consistent part of our time because he was actually a translator for both trips. So he got to meet the first group of students, and he was a translator for the second group. So he was proudly wearing a Saline t-shirt, and then this trip he ended up with a Saline baseball hat. So he was feeling proud of the family. In terms of how little it takes to do something good, these are some of the homes that we were working in. And this was a really eye-opening experience for the students to obviously see that a family of 8 can live inside of a structure like this, and that they can do it and they can smile and they can enjoy life, and they can be thankful for the things that they have. And so for one filter, you end up getting clean drinking water. You'll get 10 gallons a day for up to 10 years. The research has been done that the filters are effective as long as they're maintained for up to 10 years. And really the only cost to the family is that they have to put the water in the filter. It's $1,500 to go through Poured Out. And something that you should know about Poured Out is that it is a Saline homegrown love affair that Carly Green Months has been involved in. She was a graduate in 2006, I believe. And she ended up going to Haiti. She became very sick in Haiti, ended up getting dengue fever, and couldn't believe how sick she was. She was sick for 3 months afterwards, and couldn't believe how sick she became just from the water. And so she decided to make her life's work providing clean water in Haiti. And she has done that. At 26, she is a co-founder of this organization. She works with people all over the place. She works in Haiti, and she also does a lot of disaster relief. And so they actually were working to clean up Sandy most recently. And so Carly really brings a lot of Saline pride to this. On our last night there, she said that she got a little bit choked up and said that it was amazing to have her 2 worlds collide. This world that she grew up in and kids that she knows exactly how their experience was like, and she knows how good this community is, and to have that community come to her in her other home community of Haiti, she said was one of the most fulfilling things she's done. And she's been doing this for a while, and so it was great for our students to see that. The educational benefits, I'm going to say that they are endless. I think that our students learned so much on this, and we got to watch them grow. I know these kids very well, and I don't know other students the way I know this group. They're almost an extended family for me now. Our first group came over for dinner, and it felt good to have them all in my home. Our second group is also going to come over for dinner, and it just is it's a very tight-knit group of people who are working to really change the world. And so we ended up connecting all of that negative stuff that we learned in class about, how terrible things are, with all of these positive things about what was going on in Haiti. And that learning aspect was incredible. What we've accomplished, 64 filters this year. That was done in 2 trips. So 2 weeks of time, 64 filters. All of the filters went into individual homes. So 64 families in Haiti have water because of our Saline students. 18 of our students were involved in this process. So 18 current seniors, 16 current seniors, and then we had 2 students who went last year. We had 3 Saline High School teachers who went. Miss Trainer went in the winter, and Mr. Pike was my wingman this last go around. And then 5 of our graduates have been involved in making this happen. And what that amounts to is 4,480 gallons of water a week in Haiti. That's clean drinking water for people who otherwise wouldn't have it. Saline has made a huge impact, and I'm just so proud of what we've done. And what we'd like to do is we'd like your support in making a sustained and committed relationship to Port Out. Carly has said that she would like nothing more than to keep this Saline connection alive. And I think the educational benefits that we've seen and the growth that we've seen in our students provide some real evidence that this is good learning for our students. Our students are acting now as community leaders. They are acting as service learners. They're understanding what it means to learn something through your actions and engagement. And they're also going to be agents of change. Alex is standing here before you tonight, and he's done this at the Rotary, and he's going to do this continuously. And I'm hoping that he's going to be around for a while. In fact, I think he's even thinking of going back to Haiti next year, which is great. And so what that means, so short term, we would like to commit to taking 15 to 20 students to Haiti in the December break. And so next year, that would be any time after the 26th, right, is basically when we could leave. We'd like to go for a week, and we'd also at some point like to combine with Port Out to do one of their national response efforts. Obviously you can't plan those, so you gotta have, unfortunately we have disasters and we kind of know that they're coming. So when one does come, we'd also like to take students on a national trip. We'd like to say that you don't have to go internationally, but look at what we can do here nationally as well. Then for that, the trip cost, the overall trip cost for those folks would be $22,500 to $38,500. And what we would like the board to consider in your budgeting for the year would be perhaps to include that in the budget. We were really lucky to get a $2,000 award from the Saline Foundation this year. It was the largest award that they gave out, and I know that it was a big deal for them to give out such a large award. That award actually paid for 20 of the water filters that we installed. We're asking for a budget of $6,000 that would offset the cost of the trip for the participants, and then all of the money, which is beautiful, is it just goes to Port Out, and it's called a trip cost, and yet it's so much more, and it's a donation that the school will be making to the organization. The midterm goal for this would be to construct a large UV water filter. Port Out also constructs a large community-style filter that is powered by the sun in Haiti, and we would like to consider trying to do the fundraising for that. The added cost of that is a $7,000 cost. So you have the filters that are $100 basically in order to take to Haiti, and then the large water filter is going to be $7,000. And so we're thinking a couple of years it would take us to raise that amount, but it would change the way that we're doing our service there in the sense that instead of going into people's homes, we would be building a community center and a water source for a community. And in the past, these have been kept at schools or churches, and the community that donates the money for the filter then paints the wall of it. And it's a real source of pride for the people in the community, and they share their water that way. And so we're hoping to do that as a midterm goal. And then one of the long-term goals, the budget request for that would be $13,000. We know it's a lot. And then long-term, Port Out is hoping at some point to move some of their locations. DJ that Alex talked about is really going to be the head of the Haiti Port Out efforts at some point. Carly's going to turn over control to the Haitians and the translators she's been working with for so long. And so the next place that she would like to go, she's getting lots of requests, is from various countries in Africa. And so we would like to be with Port Out when they do make that transition. And we'd like to perhaps go on their first trip to Africa. And Carly was giving ballpark figures around 2018. So just to give you an idea of when she's thinking that would happen.
Yeah. Ms. Denson asked each student that went on here on the trip to just write a little bit about what that trip meant to them. And this is Sydney Gibson. Haiti was an eye-opening experience and made me realize that I can help change the world. It can also be described in one word: life-changing. This is Marissa Tackett. The worst mistake I ever made was doing nothing, because I believed that one person could not change the world. But Haiti taught me that you don't need to change the world to change people's lives. This is Jake Swick. Haiti gave me a deeper appreciation for life and the beautiful things it gives to us, reminding me every day to make the most out of what is given to me, instead of seeking out and accentuating the negatives. Katerina Cody. There's no way for me to express how much Haiti has impacted me. I've become an all-around better person, and I feel less trapped in the world I'm in. It has opened my eyes in a way that is completely indescribable. I went to Haiti to help people less fortunate than me, but they ended up helping me and impacting me more than I could ever hope to help them. And for that, I am truly thankful.
Do you want to read your own, Annie?
Sure. I left with not only a further understanding of the international community, but also a newfound understanding of myself. Seeing how the people of Haiti must live on so little a day has motivated me to live more simply and give more back when I head out into the world as an individual citizen. I can't wait to see where else I can make a difference in this world.
This is Randy Bennett. Haiti was an incredible experience, allowing me to see how much of a difference I am capable of making in other people's lives and in the global community. The work that I did and the impact it had on so many thankful people has inspired a desire to continue providing service for society.
Haiti was a life-changing trip for me. It opened my eyes to how many people are living in poverty and how they are struggling with everyday things such as clean water, food, and hygiene. After going, I am now even more grateful and appreciative of how fortunate I am to be living in such an affluent country and lifestyle. And then this I actually love. My request to the students was to give me a 1 to 2 sentence summary. And this response comes from the one student who I maybe heard 1 to 2 sentences from before we even went on the trip. Such a quiet student. And Alosha says, "The week I spent in Haiti was by far the most potent week of my life. I was able to experience a completely different way of life, and that changed the way I view my own life. I cannot put in words how beneficial this trip was to me. Being able to see the struggle that other people go through on a daily basis and pushing myself to help them by providing them with a source of clean water made me appreciate the quality of life that I live and made me reevaluate what are the important things in life. This trip alone made my senior year the most valuable year of my high school career. I would love to see underclassmen be able to go on this trip when they are seniors. I'm extremely grateful that I have the opportunity to go on this trip and wish that others could experience what I have experienced." And then Daniel, that's for you.
What will always stay with me is that happiness can be found anywhere, and no matter what, I can always make a difference in this world.
And so we would like you to consider funding the capstone trips to Haiti on some level. We'll obviously take any but we would like you to consider, I would like you to consider the educational benefits that our students are getting from this experience, and understand that we do have a number of students. We did a lot of fundraising. We got a lot of help this year from the foundation, as I said. We also did a fundraising effort with Cottage Inn, and Cottage Inn donated $400 in sales for the one day that we did our sales there. We raised some money in the different schools. We had a denim day. We worked really hard. Annie had a great fundraiser out at Quality 16. She was able to raise almost $500 there just by students and family and friends coming and buying popcorn. It was really cool. And so we've done a lot of fundraising, but one thing that we're realizing is that we can't fundraise to the best of our ability. We don't have the resources to do that, and we're finding that if you keep going back to the same group of people to ask them for donations, sometimes what you get in return diminishes. And so we're at a point where we believe in the work that we're doing, we believe in the education that it's providing, and we just need some assistance in helping to make the experience happen for more of our students. Alex, do you want to talk about what Haiti meant to you?
Yeah, so what did I learn in Haiti? Haiti made me realize what I want to do. Going in these groups and seeing each person with their own individual strength come together in a group to get one accomplishment done, that made me realize that I want to go into management. I want to take people and accentuate their strengths in order to benefit the common goal of the group. Just seeing some of my classmates, kids that I didn't really know that well before, I could tell what they love to do and what their strengths were during this trip. I would see one person with the coloring books and the kids having an awesome time and entertaining the kids. I would see someone else really interested in asking the family questions and trying to actually find out information that is useful to the trip. I would see Mrs. Denson talking with the mothers or the children in the group, and just seeing her impact on them was amazing. And that made me realize that I want to bring people together to do something good. Thank you.
I'll throw out a left field thought. Have you considered contacting Mitch Albom? I know he has been very passionate about outreach to Haiti, and I'm sure that if you bring this young man forward and let him do the pitch, you may be able to latch on to his efforts and maybe get some funding out of there.
Yeah, and he's done quite a bit. In Port-au-Prince, we actually stayed in one of the orphanages in Port-au-Prince the first night, the second trip. He runs a second orphanage there. And actually our translators grew up in the orphanage that he is now affiliated with. So Cedric, who was with us, and Stephen, who was with us in this last trip, they actually grew up there and they know him well. And so he is somebody who's a local person that we could contact. But he also already has some interactions with Carly and has some relationships that he has with the orphanage in Haiti, and that's really where he's putting his efforts at this point. So it's definitely a lead.
Okay.
The community water filter, how many people does that serve as opposed to the individual ones?
I have to look. There's a really great instructional video on Port-Out's website that actually walks you through how the filter works and the number of people it can provide water for. I have to go and see the actual numbers. I don't know offhand.
I'd also like to note that Annie Carter is the daughter of Secretary Carter, and I'm sure he's a proud papa. And
I am a very proud papa, and I appreciate you mentioning that Annie was able to fundraise significantly, and that was through some prompting of her mom's, but together and with Annie's get-to-itness, she got it done. So,
excellent.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Anything else from board members?
This is exactly what the capstone program idea was years ago, and it's great.
Yeah, and for those of you who've been with us for this process, it's nice to see this kind of action take place. We talked a lot about the growth and development of students in school, but to watch the growth and development outside of school and to see what amazing young people we have has been fantastic.
How did the kids get involved? Do they volunteer, or is it?
For the class?
Yeah.
So they elect the class. It's a year-long class, and they get a half credit of English, social studies, and science for it. And so we have a small number this year. We had a larger number last year, and I believe our numbers are back up again next year. We have, I think, 50 students who have requested to take the course for next year, which is fantastic. And then from that pool, then our students who went on the trip, they just elected to go. And some of them paid for it on their own, and other people did the fundraising.
It's great.
Excellent. Thank you.
Great job, guys.
Strategic framework review.
Just a quick update, as you know, that's coming to the board in a couple of weeks, but we did have a meeting this morning with the administrative team and went through a similar process to what we went through last on the 25th of March. So we kind of went through, looked at each of the goal areas, looked at the action steps, and kind of identified some areas we wanted to make sure were incorporated into that. So we're kind of continuing to work through that process. We've also posted the video of the meeting on the 25th, as well as an opportunity through a Google form to provide feedback to that. It is a 49-minute video. You can view it on your own time, but it's an opportunity to go through kind of where that process has gone, what are the action steps as they stand now, and then provide some input and feedback. How do they align with our goals, and what's missing, and what are the next steps there. So again, I wanted to make sure people were aware of that. We're continuing to work on that, and we'll be meeting with our goal champions next week as we prepare for the presentation to the board on the 23rd.
Okay. Trustee Heineck, do you have an update on the Finance Budget Committee?
Budget Committee, we met yesterday, and current budget had just a couple updates, another retirement that kind of adds to the surplus for next year, and the Act 18 funds look like they will be higher than originally anticipated. I think Mr. Graydon's meeting with Friday, right?
Yeah, Friday we're meeting with the superintendent group and we'll elect and set that rate for the year, so we'll know exactly. But we're anticipating, we had been anticipating in the low 60s and it could be up, hopefully 70, but likely around 67%, which is a little bit, still down from where it was several years ago, but a little bit better and it's reflective of stabilizing property
in the
values.
best case, it's kind of a neutral thing,
Right.
so it works good on the budget. We spent probably another hour talking about athletics in that budget, kind of wrapped up some questions we had from the work session last board meeting. And then we dabbled just slightly into the upcoming 13-14 budget. So that will probably be our next topic for our next meeting, which is not known when it will be yet.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Zimmer, anything on update on the policy committee?
Last time we met was, we brought forward the policies we approved tonight. We're meeting probably this week or next week in the evening, most likely. As we talked about in January, we wanted to shift the topics that may involve a lot of community interest. We move meetings to the evening, so we're going to do that. Coming out of the last month's conversations about athletics and pay to participate, et cetera, we had some policy things that came out, so we're going to start looking at those kind of questions.
Okay. Last discussion item is the pay to participate, which originally we had as an action item. There were some board members who felt there was a need for further discussion. We'll have that discussion this evening. We do have to set that fee for the budget coming up, but I think Superintendent Graydon has recommended that the fee remain the same for next year. In principle, I agree with that. But I think out of that session that we had last month, I think there were some issues that came up regarding athletics and funding of athletics and how funds are handled, that there should be a further discussion and review. A lot of that will be driven through the policy committee. It's not something that will happen overnight. It'll take some time. We'll have to deliberate. And I think we should measure twice and cut once and not do anything in a hasty fashion. So with that, I will open the table to discussion.
Well, I'll throw it out there. I think we do need to make some adjustments. I think we had a good discussion around the differences between club sports and varsity sports and some of the discrepancies between the numbers that we saw of how expensive a varsity sport versus how expensive a club sport is. And there's some things appear to be higgledy-piggledy. Club sports are not that expensive in many cases as compared to some of the varsity sports. And in other cases, things, so I think there's a discussion point there. I also think that there are opportunities for families that pay the pay-to-play fee and then turn around and end up paying a club sport fee and get, it's a fairly hefty number, the two of them together, as compared to a family that, say has a jock who plays, big three sports and gets subsidized for all three sports, or pays the pay-to-play once and, and gets, funded throughout. So I think that we have work to do around that. So open that door and say, I know Mr. Zimmer had some ideas of a proposed plan. If you're interested in laying that out,
the concerns that
discussion.
Yeah, the concerns that came out were the fact that for the varsity program, if you have a family that's financially unable to fund the program, we have scholarships available to them. As Paul mentioned, We have approximately 30 families today that get scholarships. Has been a pretty consistent number on the varsity sports side. On the club side, the lacrosse program has a scholarship program for those kids that can't afford it. The other club sports don't. And
I checked our field hockey minutes, we do.
Do you?
We
Okay,
will
cool.
have them this year. We discussed it and said we would, but it's got a little bit of sport dependent because we haven't had the need to cut, which we wish we did, so. But we still, we let everyone know at the informational meeting that there are things available. We'll probably do a better job at that this year, but.
Yeah, so that's an example of it's just, when we began the conversations about paid to participate years ago, it was under one set of circumstances. We're looking at $25 and $35, I think it was, the initial fee way back when. And so we're now looking at a substantial revenue stream coming in. And so the arguments we had before about hockey costs so much money, therefore it can't become a varsity sport. But then you got field hockey, you got lacrosse, and they're cheaper than some of the varsity sports. So there's some stuff there that plays out. So the thought process was, let's take a step back, make sure we're trying to get to the fairness question, or the fairness question is, you have a kid that does football and lacrosse, a kid that does football and baseball, different economic impact to the family because of it. Is that what we want to do as a board? I don't know, but I think we didn't really get to that kind of depth of conversation. The meeting we had last month was very helpful. I'm very, very thankful for the tremendous amount of work that some members of the department spent on this topic, digging all the data out. But it shows us after, it's been 8 years and we haven't really done this. We haven't combed through it and said, what does this look like? And so, from my perspective, I agree that at the end of the day, maintaining the fee structure that we have in place may make sense going forward. There's some gaps I think we could fix that won't be an exhaustive discovery process to address those things. The question of the overall athletic spending patterns, that's a different conversation, and that's really not within the pay to participate conversation as much as within the budget conversation and budget priorities for next year conversation. And that's kind of the thought process that, is to take a pause, look to see, can we somehow shape some sort of scholarship program for kids that may need it? They're in club programs, and how does that work when you're working from a club model? The second one is looking at how do you address that fairness question between clubs and club and varsity? Is that something we should address? The third question is, from a policy perspective, is should we be building in a capability for clubs to ask to become varsity status or not ask to become varsity status? Because some of the clubs may be perfectly happy staying as club status. But right now, we haven't looked at a new varsity program since '98, I think.
Yeah, prior to 2000.
Yeah, so lacrosse has come along and it's now got a middle school program and, et cetera, et cetera. So you have a lot more clubs, programs that look, feel, and smell like a varsity program. But there's some awkwardness as to how they are today. And we just thought it would be beneficial to spend a little time looking at that, then come back with a more complete presentation covering the other topic areas. That's all.
And just as a personal example, I know Annie, we chose for her not to run track this year just because we didn't want to fund the 325 because we had already invested significantly in field hockey. And her sister's track background and whatnot, and Annie earned a varsity letter her freshman year, kind of running in her sister's, footprints. It would have been a nice fit for her, but, we kind of said, well, let's not spend the money. I think that if we can make that an easier decision for people to make, then, if we can do that, it would be a good thing.
Yeah, I understand the inequity end of this. And that's unfortunate that families like yourself have to make that choice. And they shouldn't have to make that choice. We're the public schools. And if a student wants to participate in a sport, they should be able to do that. Milan charges no pay to participate, 0. And we have, over the last several years, created pay to participate. It's become a, kind of a plug number for the budget. And my thoughts on pay to participate are well known. I have a level of discomfort with it. It's a reality. We're not going to get away with it in the short term. But moving forward, I would like to see us move in a direction that we take that burden off the parent and find a way to do it. Either we go totally funded in private funds to fund our athletic program, or it gets absorbed in the budget. But to continually put that burden on parents, because if you're laying out a club sport fee and laying out pay to participate, that's a chunk of money. That could go into a 529 college fund for that student. So we have to be cognizant of that. And we put that burden on the parent. We're giving them a little relief tonight with the activity fee. But I think long term, I would like to see where that goes. Short term, we got to do something for the budget, and we got to do that relatively quickly. So I think the discussion is good. I think it needs to be aired. And that will it change our ultimate, level of fee that we implement this year? I'm not sure if that would change or not. But I think it's something that it's a healthy discussion to have.
Yeah,
and I would ask Trustee Zimmer and Trustee Heineck, as chairs of our two main committees, that you guys work together and kind of work something out, because it's got to work hand in hand. We got to make it work for the budget. From a policy standpoint, we got to make it work also. And I think if we have that full airing, I think we can come hopefully in May and make a judgment and move forward.
I think we'd all like to have it fair, even free, or however we can make it work. And we had excellent conversation last week, or 2 weeks ago. And I kind of wish this conversation was going on at that time. Because just to get into the mechanics of it, we had the conversation, and then we prompted our superintendent to go back and bring us a recommendation.
Right.
So this is all fine and good, but I think we need to make these decisions as a group. It's not always nice to sit down and all of a sudden we're changing the agenda. So I think it's good to talk about these things when we're supposed to have those discussions and not later.
In principle, I agree with that.
Yeah, Craig, I agree with you on that. We spent an awful lot of time last time going through the data itself, and because of the depth of data, we didn't get into the level of discussion. So things came out after that. There are conversations that happened prior to that session over the course of last year. I've talked about. They didn't come out as well. So the thought is, this was first presented last May by parents expressing concern. So that's from the parent perspective. They've been waiting since last May.
Sure.
From my perspective, some of the considerations they brought forward with the activity fee, we've addressed that. The other questions that were brought up, we haven't addressed those yet. I think we can spend a little time look at that. I mean, from a pure numbers perspective, if you want to look at the revenue, if you move to a 2-sport threshold versus the 1-sport threshold of varsity sports, that's another $108,000 in revenue. I'm not sure that's the right thing to do. You also could take $108,000 and use that to reduce the pay to participate rate down from the 325 to a lower number. So that's revenue neutral to the budget, reduces the cost of overall pay to participate, while recognizing the fact that today we have 60 athletes that participate in a second sport. Most of them are spring sports, they're varsity sports. They don't pay to participate for that sport in the spring. But we know from looking at the numbers that our spring sports are some of the most expensive sports we have. Whether it's baseball or softball or track, those programs are more expensive than any sport, including football. But we're not getting the revenue from that. So, but conversely, a kid who plays lacrosse or plays field hockey is paying that fee. So we didn't get to that level of minutia last week. And I think as we got through and started looking at it, questions started coming out saying, let's just take a pause here and just walk through it carefully so that,
And that's fine.
That's all I'm saying.
And I think we do need to review it. We also have a lot on our plate, you know, with the strategic framework. There's a lot of work gonna come out of that after that presentation. So I just don't want us biting off
I agree.
too big of the apple, too
We all
big a
agree.
piece of the apple. So
I agree.
I agree.
Trustee Freeze.
Okay, I'm gonna bring up the dirty word, taxes. I'd like to see us be able to charge another $500,000 to the community to take over some of the funding for athletics and get it out of our general fund so that we then have more money to access for education itself. When I've talked about it before, people had said, well, you know, then you're charging everybody and not everybody participates in the event. However, the whole community is very much supported by a good school and a good athletic program. All of our housing values go up, all of that sort of thing. And $500,000 is not a lot of money for most people, whereas we're talking about exorbitant fees for individual families. So that's my point of view.
Okay. Any other board members wish to comment?
I would just like, and that goes more towards the policy end, field hockey, our board did a good job of doing a 5-year plan. We have items in there and we try to make our costs reflective of what our budget is, and I'm not sure that happens across the spectrum. So I would like to at least see in a policy of club sports some kind of requirements that, you know, if the parents don't ask the questions,
a reserve threshold cap.
you know, I mean, the fees don't seem to change year to year, but, you know, we have, feel like he has goalie equipment, that's basically it. Everyone, the parents supply the rest of it, and uniforms we budgeted for every 5 years, so in varsity sports, and the athletic department goes through and they plan and budget stuff too, so I would like, from the policy perspective, to try to bring everyone under the same rule set, and then that may reduce overall costs. You know, like we talked yesterday, some clubs may not want to come under the umbrella of a varsity sport because they like their own control. Well, that control still needs to have some definitions around it that might not exist today.
I agree. If they say they are a Saline area school sports program, then the school district owns that relationship. I don't care whether it's a club sport or varsity sport. If they are a Saline rowing team, then they're a Saline rowing team. And so that's something to be sensitive to.
Okay.
And so, you know, from a policy perspective, I think there's some things we can look at from a policy perspective that have impact budget-wise, budget neutral in most cases, that kind of deal with that fairness question. I don't think it's a, you know, the broader question of, you know, pay to participate as a fee structure, that's not a policy question. I think that's really a budget question at some point, and then an overall board conversation. You know,
Yeah, I want to schedule some agenda time at the next study session to get an update on this. Because we got to fast track this, because when it comes to the first week in May, I want this as an action item so that as we move to the wider budget, we kind of know what that number is. And without objection, we'll move forward with that.
Is this an ongoing discussion? I understand we have to make a decision for this budget, but.
Yeah, I think
Is
it
this an
will.
ongoing discussion?
Yeah, I think it will be an ongoing discussion. I think a lot of the issues that came up at the last meeting in terms of funding, you know, club sports, varsity sports, you got varsity sports that are doing their own fundraising, and, you know, what's the controls placed on that? Do we need to go to a Saline Booster Club and make that the 501c and make that the umbrella organization that everything, you know, then each individual sport is an affiliate of that? I mean, you know, that's not something that we're going to decide overnight. That's something that we gotta think out, make sure we do the right thing so that whatever we put in place is something that's sustainable.
Mhm.
It has been a long time since we've had this depth of a discussion
Yeah.
about the whole.
That's just a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Just a good thing to do.
Okay, we'll move to the consent agenda.
Dave, real quick.
Yeah.
Just, I want to make sure everyone understands that this is not a reflection on the athletic department, no reflection on the coaches, no reflection on the programs, the club sports, no reflection on all that thing. What was very apparent is we have a tremendous athletic department. our club sport programs are tremendous as well. Is a question of, from a governance perspective, you know, I call it organically, the programs grew faster than governance did.
I think we're in agreement on that.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
all I'm saying.
And that. We'll move to the consent agenda. The chair will entertain a motion to authorize items A through E on the consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Todd
Second.
and Diane. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Items scheduled on the next agenda, which will be our work session.
Strategic framework
gonna-
presentation.
Okay, so we'll have the team champions and hopefully the participants come in, and that'll be
Present their recommendations.
good.
to the board.
Good.
This is the, kind of the final.
This is the final
presentation.
presentation. The board will receive the report, and then, you know, there's going to be an opportunity then to further dissect that and prioritize. And
Excellent.
Okay, then the other thing I would add on to that work session is kind of the update on the pay to participate, so that we're moving that along and reaching a quick resolution on that. And then probably looking forward to that first meeting in May. Do you think you can get Allison Collins to come?
I believe we have something set up.
Yeah, we would ask her to be here.
Excellent. Okay, great. And that, we now have another opportunity for public comment. Member of the public may address the board for up to 3 minutes or request to be scheduled on the agenda of a future meeting if they require more time. Any takers?
Mary Laronis, 373 West Bennett. I wanted to comment on the pay-to-play discussion, of course. This is an excellent example of the loony way our state is being run. It's the whack-a-mole method. The school appropriation peg is whacked down beyond all that is rational, so the pay-to-participate peg pops up. One way or another, the money is extracted from someone. You may say, Saline is fortunate that, for the most part, those someones are well enough off to pay for their child to participate. We should not be smug about this. We do not love our children more than those parents and grandparents in the poorer school districts. And the sad, sad thing about all this is that many children in the state are denied the benefits of sports, music, clubs, and so forth. Everyone statewide should be paying more taxes so all children statewide could participate. And we need to tell our state representatives that we believe this. I have, and I have done that, and I'm still doing it. Thank you.
Are there others who wish to comment at this point? Okay, the next Board of Education meeting will be our study session to be held on Tuesday, April 23rd, 6:30 here at Liberty. And with that, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Todd? Support. And the chief. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.